All right, welcome back to Terrible at Technology. Well, in this episode, we're going to teach you the ins and outs of GPUs or graphic cards, so stay tuned. All right, well, GPUs are so intimidating. This is probably the hardest presentation for me to give to you guys because everybody has an opinion. Now, when it comes to motherboard CPUs, things like that, people have opinions. But, boy, this is sort of like talking politics or religion to somebody. So, those people on the red corner, the blue corner, the green corner, they're very passionate about this subject. So, we're basically going to be teaching you the ins and outs of a GPU, and we're going to let you make that decision. And there are some big determining factors. So, let's transition and go to my screen. All right, so GPU 101. Oh my goodness, graphic cards. Let's turn that off. Yeah, I'm a fisherman. Go to Terrible at Fishing is my first and very popular channel. So let's go over to GPUs. The most expensive component by far in this computer or any computer is going to be your GPU. Typically, you'll spend more on it than your CPU and anything else in here. The fans, the coolers, things like that. I mean, it really is the most expensive single component that you'll have in the box. So this will make you, without guidance, you'll go insane. I'm here to help you save your sanity. There are 2.5 players, and I say half in a sec, I'll tell you. NVIDIA, the green team, AMD, the red team, and Intel, the blue team. Now, NVIDIA and AMD, they've been around for a long, long time. And they pretty much own the marketplace. Now, 99% or whatever. I mean, it's pretty high. And then there's Intel. Intel is brand new to the GPU market. And they've made a pretty big impact. So that's why I say they're only a year old in this market. But because of their newness, they have some drawbacks. But also because of their newness, they have great value. So we're going to talk about them later too. So the biggest question, and this is a biggie, what will the computer be used for? Ask yourself, what are you going to use it for? Bookkeeping? Perhaps gaming? And content creating. So what are you going to use the computer for? It tells us a lot about what we need to buy in a graphics card. The next question is, what are you going to have hooked up to it? What monitor? Now, sometimes, if you're using a TV monitor or something like that, and it's a 720p, believe me, you can buy anything. But if it's 1080p, or if it's a 2K, or if it's 4K, what resolution of that monitor are you going to hook up to it, or later hook up to it? Also, you need to ask yourself, what connection do you use? So if your monitor doesn't have, has a specific connection like DVI or HDMI or DP or USB-C, those things have to be addressed. But you got to make sure that because your monitor is connected directly to your GPU. So you got to make sure you got the right connection, right? All right, next question. What software will it be used for? So ask yourself what your favorite games are. If it's a gaming computer, do you game? I don't. Chess. So obviously, any card would do it for chess. In fact, you don't even need a card for chess. Editing and graphics. Well, this is what I do. So now I got to think, okay, all these cards say gaming on it. Well, that's confusing to a guy that doesn't game, because I don't need it for gaming. I need it for editing and graphics and things like 3D modeling. So my needs are very specific, and the card that I get has to tailor itself to my needs. Not just because everybody sees the RTX 4070 out on the market this last week and say, oh my God, I got to get it. And then they're all disappointed with it. That's why there's so many still on the marketplace. So don't fall into a hype or the common opinion if indeed you don't fit in that common opinion. Very important. So, and then suites. Do you have a favorite software suites like Adobe or something like that? And ask yourself, what's good for those particular programs. And you'll find that on the line of each video card company, they will team up with certain companies and gaming companies and software companies. And if they do hit, the ones that you're working with or work with, then you've pretty much narrowed down your field pretty quick. Next question. What is your budget? Oh my goodness, this is everything, it seems, because there's so many. And at the end, the last slide, we're going to talk about price, brackets and what they're usually good for. Again, some generalities for you to look in. But I mean, unless if you got more dollars than cents, go for it. Grab an RTX 4090. Best one on the market. It's $2,000, but hey, more power to you. I don't. So, VRAM, video RAM. So, wow. Now, nowadays, you don't want to consider anything less than 8 gigabytes because you don't have to. It's just not necessary. But everything is becoming more and more demanding. So that 8 to 10 gigabytes are fairly affordable in the price range. And then 12 to 24 gigabytes, way high in the 24s. Those are going to really deal with some serious performance advantages. But your price is going to dictate where you're going to fall in here. And then, of course, what kind of software that you're using. So these numbers don't always relate equally, because some 8 gigabyte cards use DDR5 RAM, and some, for similar price, use DDR6. Well, the faster the RAM is, like DDR6 is faster than 5, that 8 gig card is going to perform better. And we're going to talk about clock speed later too, but it really makes a big difference in the type of RAM you get in it. All right, what is enough? Well, again, I just talked about this. 8 gigabytes would be a minimum nowadays, and there's really no reason to go less than 8. You can get 8 gigabyte cards at $150 or so. Software and games are hungry for VRAM nowadays. In fact, some games won't even run on less than 8. And so if you're a gamer, great. If you're a bookkeeper, you don't even need a video card. Just get an all-in-one CPU and you're good to go. So this particular presentation, if you just want bookkeeping, is kind of superfluous unless you want to cross over into gaming or content editing or something like that. TDP, thermal design power, is how much power it takes to run. You need to know how much that video card needs to run, because you need to match it to either your existing power supply, or when you buy a power supply, we need to add this up to make sure that you have enough power to run the system. So TDP is a simple number you can look at, but it's an important number for you to know. Graphics clocks. All right, measured in gigahertz. So each one runs at a certain speed. So bigger this number, the better. It allows the GPU to keep up with the demanding games and programs that we have coming on the market now and in the future. Next, where's my slide? There it is. All right, so this is a simple spec sheet. But notice the graphics clock is 2100 megahertz. Actually, it's megahertz, not gigahertz. I'm sorry. And that's very fast, by the way, because a lot of them are 1300, 1500, whatever. So the TDP is 225 watts. So again, an important number to know, but not necessarily one that's going to keep you out of the game. PCI Express configurations. This is important. So PCIe is that slim slot, the long slim slot at the top of your, slots on your motherboard. We talked about it in the motherboards. See it, Gen 4. Well, if you have a board that doesn't have a Generation 4 slot, this particular card wouldn't work for you. So it's very, very important for you to make sure that the interface of the card matches the interface on your motherboard. Because if you had an A series AMD board that doesn't have Generation 4 and it's just Gen 3, then this particular card wouldn't work for you. So you want to make sure that you've got the right connection. Very, very important. And you know what? It's not that hard because Gen 4 is common nowadays. It's on almost all the boards. So, but make sure that you got the right one. Generalities. All right, this is where we just sort of put people in baskets. So, NVIDIA. Now, I've got an NVIDIA in here. It's an old one. It's usually good for 3D designs and games. They have more what's called CUDA cores for 3D designs and content creating. And the more CUDA cores in the NVIDIA lineup, the better and easier it is to go ahead and do creations and editing. So really a very good brand but you're going to spend more money for NVIDIA. You just are. They're not a budget friendly or good value for a card, but they do make the world's best card right now in the RTX 4090. So that's actually in you'll see a picture of it on the thumbnail for this video. Also AMD. AMD is great for games, and they also can offer a great value. AMD and NVIDIA are like brothers. They're always punching and are always wanting to be, king of the hill. And so when one comes out, the other one comes out and fighting and boom, boom, boom. It's really a fun competition. But another one on the market's just entered, and I just told you, is Intel. Intel is good for content creating. They've teamed up with content creating companies. And they're the new kid on the block, so they're trying to get market share. So they're lower in price. So that creates a greater value. And they're very aggressive at their updates in order to keep up and become more competitive. When they first came out last year, they were terrible. I mean, they didn't even work on a lot of games and just was very frustrating for people. But nowadays, you'll have a hard time finding a bad review on the Intel Arc series. You really will. I mean, people, if it's a current review, especially with last week's update, you will not find anybody that's bad-mouthing it. They'll say you can get better, but they're not bad-mouthing it. Content creating, though, I talk about this on the A770 video, too, that they've teamed up with two companies that I just use a lot, which is Magix, with an X at the end, and Blackmagic, which is DaVinci Resolve. So those two companies, among others, they've done some really good stuff with other companies. But again, when you choose one of these companies, see who they're teaming up with. And if they're teaming up with somebody on your team, good for you. It really helped make up your mind. So pricing, they're all over the place nowadays. So, what do you get for your money? That's a big question you have to ask yourself. So, and then if you buy more, spend more, do you get a significant difference for your money? That's important. Or is it just bravado? Or would I appreciate the difference? The crazy thing is, a person could be happy with a 720p monitor until they get a 1080. or a 1440, you're happy. You know, it's I'm a muscle car guy. I love cars. So my '69 Dodge Chargers. You know, if I didn't know they existed, I would have been happy with a Toyota. Not likely after driving a Charger. So, so I want you to realize, would you appreciate the difference that it offers? And can your components utilize it? Does your software utilize it? Because if one does really well, has a lot of CUDA cores, and you never do 3D modeling, well, what's the point? You know? And it's 3D modeling is very intensive when it comes to CUDA cores. So you need to ask yourself, can you utilize the appropriate expenditure, for a practical value? So this is an important slide. Yeah, $200 to $300 range. Now, in this range, you'll actually find a great all-around GPUs. I mean, you really can find so much at $200 to $300. It is the meat of sales is $200 to $300. You can get great 8 gigabyte cards that are doing really, really, really well. You might even be able to squeeze in a 10 gigabyte every once in a while, depending on the DDR it uses. But the 8 gigabyte cards are really good. And everybody, all three companies, offer really good choices at the $200 to $300 range. Now, at the $300 to $500 range, this are your more demanding. Now you're going to get in the 10 and the 12 gigabyte, even 16 gigabyte video cards that are on the market. I mean, the RTX 3060 Ti by NVIDIA, awesome card. 8 gigabyte though, but what a fantastic card. You could get the AMD's the 6800s I think are in there. 6800s XT, that's a great card. The Intel Arc A770 is 16 gigabyte card for $350. You can find on the market. So there's a lot of great stuff in the $300 to $500 range. Now, over $500 range, these are the extremely demanding software. These are the ones that are high clocks. These are that require high clocks, high VRAM, things like that. But after you go over $1,000 and into the $2,000 range, you're really into more of a bravado, or very, very. You are not a typical gamer or content creator. You require a lot more from a computer. I mean, you're not teaming up a 4090 with an i5, Intel processor. No, you're doing it with an i9, and you're doing it with the latest gen, 14 gen, or you're doing it with the AM5, Ryzen. These are just all crazy stuff for you, probably, but you can't take a 4090 and it's like having a Dodge Charger, and throwing a 4-cylinder in it. It just don't go. So you gotta have everything matched up. So really, shopping a GPU can be maddening. Your budget has a lot to do with it, and you can get some great stuff in all those budgets right in front of me. Especially, $200 to $400 right in there. You can get just about anything, and you will be happy with it. Look them up. Pick out a couple cards. Don't look at more than a few, and look up the reviews for the software that you have. Remember, don't go by the majority if you're not in the majority. So I hope this presentation helps you with your decisions. So let's get me back to being big. I'm big. I hope this helps you a little bit. I know it's a little maddening, but GPUs are, well, it's tough. You're going to change your mind a lot. But if you're a gamer, you've got a lot of resources out on YouTube and on Google to help you out. If you're a content creator, not so much. I think Tech Notice, I think, is a really good content creator YouTube channel. And if you just need it for bookkeeping and housewares, then just get an all-in-one processor. You can always add a GPU later, but your CPU, you can have the graphics card built into it, and you will be just happy if you just want it for a house computer to do your bookkeeping and for basic schools and stuff, schoolwork, whatever. So you don't need a lot. You just don't. So, but if you want, you can add a graphics card, spend $200 on a nice, AMD card, or $250 on, an AMD or Intel card. The Intel A750 has gotten so good with all the updates that they've put on it. For $250, it's a pretty nice card. So it's a really, a great growing, and highly competitive industry. GPUs are. So I hope this helps you out. If you have any questions, just drop them down below. Please hit like and subscribe. My next video is going to, now that we've got, major components, we're going to talk about memory in the next video. And with the next video, and then we'll talk about cases. Oh, cases. Cases are fun to talk about. Very difficult to choose. But, yeah, I did. We'll see you guys in the next video.